was full of chronic symptoms, from constant sinus infections to migraines and sleep deprivation. She felt like she was a walking zombie. How did she get rid of all those symptoms and what was really causing them? Here to explain, please welcome Hollie Grubb along with Dr. Stephen Hotze with the Hotze Health and Wellness Center.
Thank you, Deborah.
All right. Okay. You see people like Hollie all the time, and it's because for years they've not gotten the right answer to their problems, and it just compounds in the body.
Exactly. And her problem was primarily low thyroid. And it's a common problem that occurs among a large proportion of the population that goes undiagnosed because doctors rely strictly on blood tests rather than on the symptoms that they present with.
Yeah, and when you say thyroid, a lot of people still are confused at what it does. But I remember when my son was born, the first test that was ordered by state law was the thyroid, because if it wasn't working properly, it could cause death, blindness, all kinds of other issues. So tell us what the thyroid does in the body, and then we'll find out what happens when it's not working well in the body.
Well, very simply, the thyroid gland in the neck produces thyroid hormones, which are secreted into the blood. They don't do anything in the blood. They have to get into the cells. In our cells, they enable our cells to produce and use energy. It governs our metabolism. So if you have good metabolism and your energy level's high, you're going to be healthy and well. If your metabolism's low, you're going to have a host of symptoms that Hollie demonstrated when she came in.
All right, so Hollie, you didn't feel like you were alive at the time, right?
Barely, just hanging on.
Yeah. What were your symptoms?
Well, they actually started in childhood. As long as I can remember, I had migraines, I had constant sinus infections, I had a very weak immune system. I knew someone had a cold, I was going to catch it. I had joint pain. I would, as a child, hurt all night long.
And that joint pain, a lot of times, Dr. Hotze, people say, oh, that's called fibromyalgia.
Right.
And oftentimes you'll see people with fibromyalgia, really, it's that they have low thyroid.
Exactly. The most common cause of fibromyalgia, which is joint and muscle pain, is low thyroid.
Yeah. You had the insomnia.
I did. I had the insomnia, but then you're so tired, so you're looking at the clock. If only I could go to sleep, and you're counting how many hours. Then you go to sleep in the early morning hours, and you can't wake up because you're so tired.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I've said this over and over again. I actually, because I had low thyroid too, I fell asleep at stoplights. I would go, I've got a good minute here, right? But it was like I was so tired. But yet when I went to sleep at night, I couldn't go to sleep.
I would crawl under my desk at work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So it makes you almost absent as an employee, absent as a parent.
Right.
And so when did you figure out that the answer was not going to all the different doctors for the symptoms, like let me take medicine for the sinus, let me take something for migraine, let me take something, which that plays a number on the body too, right?
Absolutely. All the drugs doctors give to treat the symptoms in and of themselves are toxins, and they make you sicker quicker.
Yeah. All right.
Rather than addressing the underlying problem.
Yeah. When did you figure out that that's what you needed to do?
Well, my sister-in-law was a guest at the center, and I saw the change in her life, and she started talking to me about it. And then my parents went, and of course, you know, when your mom decides you need to do something, she's not going to stop. So that's when I went, and I really didn't think they would be able to fix everything. I thought they were going to think I was just, you know, making this up
because that's what
lazy.
Happens. I remember I said it before when I went to a doctor. I said, you know, what happened? He goes, well, you're old and had a baby. That's just what happens. And I was like, make it like it was. And you were like, no. In fact, one of the triggers is when you have a baby, and that things can change. And so you like opened the door for me on the whole thyroid deal. All right. So you weren't holding out hope that you would get so much better, but you knew you had to do something.
I just thought I could get a little energy. I was seeing in black and white. I could only see about 2 feet in front of my face. I could not handle noise. I couldn't go out. I had no strength. So I went. I thought at least maybe I'll feel a little bit of rest. I just wanted to not feel so tired.
Yeah. And then things started to change.
Oh, wow, did they change. I mean, my life, I feel better now than I've ever felt in my life. People always say that.
Yeah, now you're starting to live. Dr. Hotze, my mom had a thyroid issue. I have a thyroid issue. My sister has a thyroid issue. Oftentimes it is hereditary, right?
Absolutely. It runs in a family. Hollie's got a great story about her 3 little kids.
Yes, all 3 of my children have thyroid disorders, but they are at the wellness center. My babies were floppy. They were just weak, like a little stuffed animal.
Energy.
No energy, just sit around. This was 2 of them were like this. And they were not making it on their growth charts. They did not have muscle development.
Were doctors testing them for all kinds of other things that it might be?
No, they said, well, technically they could be okay. We'll just see if they grow out of it. And the constipation is what really drove us to find an answer, because we were giving one of my daughters enemas just for her to go to the bathroom.
Wow.
They were on Miralax as babies and infants.
Yeah.
And it was just a very, very difficult time for us to find those answers.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back to that.
So what we did with these little kids is gave them a little bit of thyroid, and what kind of difference has it made in their lives?
It was just in a matter of days we would see the difference. They're muscular, they are strong, they are top of their growth charts. They are so healthy. They don't have to worry about going to the bathroom. My oldest daughter remembers it. She'll say, remember when my tummy hurt? Remember when I was scared to go to the bathroom? And it's just been an amazing difference.
Yeah. And let me bring this up, too. The fact that you have kids. A lot of women with thyroid issues don't know why they can't get pregnant, and they're not thinking it could be thyroid.
Very commonly, a cause of infertility or recurrent miscarriages is low thyroid. And prior to blood tests, in the old days, doctors would give them a little bit of thyroid to help solve their fertility problems. That's not done much anymore. Now they spend $25,000 or $50,000 at an infertility clinic when all they really should is try to get their hormones balanced, a little bit of thyroid, balance their female hormones. And, you know, I always tell the ladies, don't blame us if you get pregnant. And her sister-in-law was told that she was in menopause at 28, never be able to have kids, and she's had 4.
Wow. All right. I want to talk about the difference between Bioidentical and then some other hormones out there, because I remember when I was first on synthetic, I was jittery. I wasn't getting better. And then with the Bioidenticals, it was like all of a sudden,
well, then, you know, if you have a choice, am I going to take a synthetic hormone that is a counterfeit? It doesn't really work. And what we find is with synthetic thyroids, they just don't work well. So we've seen thousands of guests that we convert to natural thyroid, which makes sense. Why not put something natural in your body? And the reason we use it is it works. We've only treated 30,000 patients with natural thyroid.
And I got to say, you refer to us as guest, and when you go there, it's a much more comprehensive, like, evaluation. Right. Yeah. You don't get like 5 minutes with somebody, and then when you leave with your bags in your hand, because you go right downstairs to the pharmacy and you're like, okay, I have all my stuff and I'm going to feel good now.
That's right.
So this has made the world of difference for you, the world of difference for your children.
It has. It absolutely has.
And Dr. Hotze, you oftentimes say, yes, there is the blood work, and there's a range that a lot of people generally go by, but whose range is it? If you were here or here or here or here, and now you're here, it doesn't matter. Well, if you feel bad, it doesn't matter what that blood test says.
The blood tests are developed by the labs, and they have ranges of normal, and the ranges of normal encompass 95% of the people, so the chance of you finding low thyroid based upon a blood test is 5%. And so if you were at this level when you were young and felt great, and your level has fallen down to here, you're still within the range, but you're not at the optimal level.
That's what happened to me, but I felt it. One way you can kind of tell if you're having some issues, and I thought this is so cool, is said take your temperature.
Well, that's right, because thyroid enables your body to produce energy. The excess energy is given off as heat. So the normal temperature a person should be at is 98.6, and we routinely find women at 97.2,
that's me.
1.5 degrees lower than normal, which means they're not producing enough energy. And then they have all these other symptoms, the fatigue, the weight gain, the inability to think clearly, mood swings, joint muscle aches and pains, constipation, regular bowel function, recurrent infections, irregular menstrual cycles.
You're dying.
Which the doctors want to treat independently, but if you give them thyroid, it treats the underlying problem.
Yeah, and I'm just going to throw it out with this, and that whole thing, if when you deal with hormones and balance them, for example, going into menopause, you can crash into menopause or you can glide through menopause, and that's for another show. But anyway, Dr. Hotze has written 2 books about hormones and hypothyroidism. Visit hotzehwc.com/GDH to get your free copy. All you have to do is pay for the shipping. To make your appointment and for more information on Hotze Health and Wellness Center, call 888-473-5531, 888-473-5531, or log on to hotzehwc.com. And everyone in today's live studio audience is going home with a copy of Hypothyroidism, Health, and Happiness.